Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady. A policeman once told me that every time somebody gets mad and asks, "Do you know who I am?" he'll go on the radio right away and say, "It'll be a psychiatric case. The subject doesn't know who he is." And our first story for today. Don't you know who we are? This happened more than a decade ago. Names have been changed or altered to maintain anonymity. Please forgive formatting on mobile. I had already switched from chef work to sommelier work, having left my first big sommelier job to take over as head sommelier, executive manager of a restaurant group. The city I lived in was the capital, lots of embassies and lots of politicians, so the high-end restaurants would often get large parties of politicians and ambassadors. Because of this sort of clientele, we had very high-end wine lists at all of our restaurants. But not all of them were super expensive food-wise, and our house wine was very affordable, also had a lot of good wine by the glass. This made some of our locations very popular as a lunch spot for servers who worked in the area. One cloudy day, I was sitting in a corner banquet, just doing paperwork, enjoying some Musca roll-ups, like eggplant parmesan, almost, but rolled up with mashed potato inside as well as cheese, tomato, and herbs. This was a specialty for this Greek restaurant. The server on duty was pretty busy. She was new and didn't know me. I knew her, though. She was doing all right, serving everyone without too much problem. No one was waiting more than a few minutes to get attention. There was also a server from the restaurant across the street, not a part of my group, but a regular, sitting and having a glass of house wine as she was organizing her tips from her shift. She looked like a server, in blacks with a black short apron, similar uniform to what was worn in our restaurant. In walk a bunch of people, group of 6. I recognized one of them as an ambassador's aide, didn't recognize the others. 4 guys and 2 women, one of whom had the classic Karen hairdo. They don't wait at the front where the sign says to wait to be seated. They walk right into the dining room, push 2 tables together, and grab extra chairs. They're sitting, sprawling, taking up lots of room in the middle of the dining room, talking loudly about how this place has a great wine list one of them says he's going to order. They've now been in the restaurant for less than 2 minutes total. The server on duty didn't see them from the corner where they do their side duties. She'd been in the back serving the VIP room. At this point, the group are already starting to complain that they haven't been served yet, which is when they notice the server from the other restaurant who's just enjoying her glass of wine. Ambassador's aide, substantially louder than it needed to be. "Hey you! You can't drink on the job! Why haven't you taken our order yet?" Karen hairdo, not at all under her breath. "I can't believe how unprofessional that girl is." Then to the girl, "We'll have you fired for this. Do you know who we are?" Ambassador's aide, "This is an outrage." Not our server girl. "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't work here. I work at a different restaurant. I'm sure a server will be here soon to take your order." Karen hairdo, "Don't you give us that bull crap, you lazy good-for-nothing," and incoherent mumbling. At this point, I'm really not liking where this is going, but I decide to wait a minute to see how the new server handles it. She arrives with her customer service smile plastered across her face. Actual server, "Pardon me, I'm Mandy. I'll be your server for the day. Can I take your order?" Karen hairdo, "Finally! We've been waiting here 20 minutes. Maybe 3 tops. With no service, and your colleague here didn't even get up to greet us. She's just getting drunk. You can't drink on the clock." Directed with malice at the innocent server girl from another restaurant, "You need to fire her now. I demand to speak to your manager." "Do you even know who I am? I work for the blank blank consulate. I could have both your jobs for this." It was at this point that I finally recognized the lady. She was a receptionist for the consulate where she worked. I'd seen her a year and a bit prior when she came in with a large group for her office Christmas party. I could have stepped in at this point, but I was curious to see how the new server, Mandy, would handle this. Mandy, in an apologetic tone, "I'm sorry, but I didn't see you arrive. Normally people wait to be seated as the sign asks, so I couldn't see you all sitting here. Please don't badger our guest, though. That lady doesn't work here and is a paying customer. I believe she works at another restaurant down the street." Karen hairdo cuts her off. "Don't you dare lie to me, you little redacted racial slur. I eat liars like you for breakfast." The rest of the 6 are egging Karen hairdo on at this point, and I can see that this may be escalating beyond what the server can handle. So I text the owner's son, who lives upstairs. He's also a part owner in the group and sometimes does some managing of this location, happens to also be a bodybuilder and is huge. Less than 30 seconds later, I get a BRT text from the owner's son. Karen Hairdo, yelling in a shrill, indignant voice, "Where is your manager? Get him now! You can't treat us like this! We are important people!" Mandy was starting to look like she was going to cry at this point, and the not our server is shrinking back into the banquet as both of them were being yelled at incoherently by this group of 6 rude flunkies. At this point, the assistant floor manager has arrived due to the screeching, but the 6 insane screechers are just ignoring her. I stand, take a couple of steps towards them, take a deep breath, and at the top of my lungs shout, "Quiet now!" I was an actor in high school and know how to project, so my voice fills the room. Everyone stops their shouting and turns to me. Me, at a more reasonable level, "Okay, so here's what's going to happen. None of you need to speak to a manager. What you need to do is grab your stuff and get out. I won't have you shouting at my server or my guests. No one deserves to be talked to the way you've been. And before you indignantly ask me if I know who you are, I do. I know exactly who you are, and I know your boss. I know your boss's boss, both of whom love eating here and would be appalled at your behavior." At this point, I notice Matthew, the owner's son, has just come through the kitchen door, dressed in his gym gear, glistening with sweat like some sort of Greek statue of Hercules. 6'4", nearly 300 pounds of muscle. The look on his face just screams, "I just got here, and I'm already completely done with this." I can see Karen Hairdo is about to protest, but I hold up my hand, and in my no-nonsense commanding voice, "No, this is not a discussion. Get up and go now." Karen Hairdo, in an injured, indignant tone, "Well, I never." Me, matter-of-factly, "And you never will again. You can consider yourselves banned from this establishment." Matthew, the owner's son / part owner, rather louder than he really needed to be, "Get out of my restaurant and don't ever even think about coming back. You're going on the blacklist." Matthew's colossal form starts moving towards them, and it seems the look on his face was enough to end any further discussion as the group grab their things and rush out of the restaurant. I thank Matt for coming down and interrupting his workout for the assist. The manager comps the not our server's meal and wine for her marred experience. Our server is told she did nothing wrong, that it's okay. She's not in any danger of being fired, and in fact handled it about as well as she could have. She's given the rest of the day off with pay. The group each have a headshot pulled from security cams and are added to our digital blacklist, but it doesn't end there. I call the consulate and talk with the ambassador, who's appalled by the behavior of his staff, all of whom arrived back at the consulate that day to find out they'd been fired for attempting to use their job to bully others. He comes in personally the next week to apologize to our server, manager, and the owner's son in person and assure us that the group no longer work at the consulate. Moral of the story? Never use your position of perceived power to bully others. You may well end up losing that position. And our second story today. What's the magic word? I was in Target wandering around waiting for my sister to get off work. I usually walk her home when she works late at Target. It's only a few blocks, but it's dark outside and you never know what may happen. I'm checking out the prices on hockey jerseys when an older man tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around and he asked me if I know where the socks are. I pointed and told him where, and he thanked me and walked away. The gentleman returned and asked if I could help him find the proper price because they were strewn all over. "Sir, could you please help me? I would appreciate it very much." "Sure, no problem," I said. We walked to the footwear aisle and looked to find the proper price. He thanked me and went on his merry way. A minute or two later, an older woman comes to me and said, "May I bother you for some help?" I said sure and asked what she needed. "Would it be too much of a bother if you could help me with these storage bins? I need 2, please." I reached and put the bins into her cart. She thanked me and left. This happened a few more times and I thought nothing about it. Then it happened. A bony finger poking me in the back. I turned around and standing behind me was the typical Karen hair, a resting face that looked like she walked off a Facebook meme. Hair and all, smelling as if a vat of lavender had fallen on her. "Come with me and help me now." I told her no, and she started tapping her foot. I said, "Help me now, mister." Once again, I said no. "Listen, Buster, you better help me now or else." "Or else what?" "Or else I'll get your manager," she hissed, and that's when I said those all too familiar words. "Ma'am, I don't work here." No long, drawn-out argument, just, "Then why bother helping if you don't?" It's called being kind, helping others who need it. Besides, you didn't say the magic word. With a deep sigh, "Okay then, what are the magic words?" "Ma'am, if you have to ask at your age, you are beyond my help." So I saw my sister walking down the aisle to the exit and caught up with her, and all I could do is sigh. My sister asked what was wrong, and I just said, "I'll explain when we get home." I know that was anticlimactic. It's just a little story of how little manners go a long way. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Hey guys, thank you all for watching to the end, and we'll see you soon.